7 or 07 a.m. on a day that was going to be hot. Jesus rang out as Tony saw young Mr. Batista, the head of the scouts for Pancho's army. What are you doing here? You're a day early. Tony laughed as the two friends hugged. 3 riders we find told us all go north to the mission. We come here, see why? Jesus said in his broken English. Peter, Jesus is here with his scouts from Pancho's army. Tony laughed. Jesus, good to see you again. Peter gave Jesus a hug and a high five. Heard you have a party. Cake? Jesus laughed. I have a present. What up? Tony asked. Seal, big gun, shoot mile. Jesus laughed. Bring him on. Tony laughed. Jesus raised his phone, speaking in Spanish. Luis, bring our big man with his big gun to the center of the fort. Wife too. In seconds, the 3 materialized in the center of the fort's open courtyard. You must be the big gun? Tony laughed. He was looking at a man who was 6 feet tall and weighed 185 pounds. He was fit and looked to be in good shape. Yes, that's me. I'm looking for Tony or Peter. The man said, We are both up here. Come on up. Tony directed. I go, Jesus announced. I watched the riders to the south. Both Tony and Peter. You take care, good luck. Jesus was gone in a blink. You two are mighty young for running things. Big gun shared. It's the matter of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and other people thinking what's done is heroic, Tony shared. For me, I got lucky and killed 2 professional killers. Then your dad kind of adopted me when my dad ascended. Peter shared, for what it's worth, I think what you did, Tony, was heroic. This is my wife, Barbie, and I'm Ken. My little sister has Ken and Barbie. How much are you worth? Tony got serious. Ken looked at his wife. We are both worth 5 million. We are both only worth 1. I feel slighted. Peter laughed. What's the situation? Ken asked. Ken's changing the subject felt awkward for a second. The riders are over there to the north. They are still coming in, and we may have 6,000. We also have 1,000 on the south side, but Jesus and his scouts are watching them. The army is there to the west, and we estimate 20,000 of them. We don't want to kill the army unless we must. We only want to kill their officers that are corrupted. Peter laid it all out. We have 2,000 in the mission, along with Jesus and his 300 scouts to the southeast. Pancho's army of 4,000 is a day or 2 away. Tony added, Ken, Barbie, why are you here? I like to sleep at night. That may be the drug lord that I'm looking for. Ken was pointing to the group of 12 men on horseback behind the riders. My thinking is, if I help you guys eliminate all of the drug lords, then my wife and I can go back to being retired. Ken thought for a second. Oh, by the way, Pancho's army is over 8,000 strong now. Very good news. Fair enough. Good shooting. Tony gave Ken a salute. Tony, things are changing again. Peter announced, Here they come. It appeared that half of the riders from the north were attacking them. Willa and Patty had just arrived as the first tank fired off a round towards them. Tony caught that round with his TK ability and lifted it and then turned it back and then brought it down hard, aiming at the turret hatch of the tank. The entire turret lifted off the tank. 1 down. Tony took a deep breath. One of the mortars off to the north fired. Tony pushed it straight up, then straight down. It looked like the stack of supply of mortars was behind the 4 mortar tubes and centered. He brought it down there. The explosion shook the fort. When the dust settled, all Tony and Peter could see was a big hole in the ground a half mile to the north. Ken looked hard at Tony. You did that? How? We all have different abilities. Tony shared, You just witnessed one of mine. Willa was shooting at the men with the artillery. The first man she aimed at his head and hit below his knee. She added 5 clicks up on her scope. The second man she hit just below his belt. Tony winced when he saw that one. Willa added 5 more up clicks. She aimed at the head of the third man and hit him in the chest. Close enough. Ken and his wife climbed the ladder to the lookout. Once he got set up, he started firing at the drug lords on the horses from left to right. First one, a second later, got him, took all by Ken's wife, Barbie. Second one, Barbie directed. A second later, got him. Third one, Barbie directed. A second later, got him! Fourth one, Barbie directed. A second later, got him! Fifth one, Barbie directed. A second later, got him, reload. A few seconds were lost to the reloading of the 50 caliber rounds. Sixth one, Barbie directed. A second later, got him. Seventh one, Barbie directed. A second later, got him. They are starting to move. Go for the 12th one, Barbie directed. A second later, got him. Oh God, Ken said. Tony, Ken's been hit. Help! Oh dear God. Willa, I can't leave. Tony said, if any of those tanks fire, I've got to be here. I'll go with you, Willa, Patty informed. The two girls quickly climbed the ladder to the lookout tower. One look at Ken, his neck took on a stray bullet and lost. Leave the guns, we are going to God. The three girls and a dead Ken arrived at God. Ken went on to a table. Jenny, help, Willa asked as she focused on Jenny's face. John was over at Jenny's drinking a cream soda. We are running out of cream soda. Jenny shared. Oh, I'll have to find another reason to visit you every day, John said matter of fact. In that case, I'll tell the powers to be to order a truckload of cream soda. Jenny smiled. I love you, Jenny listened. I gotta go to God. Come with me. A while later, Jenny walked over to Julianne, Barbie. Your husband will be fine. What do you mean he's dead? Barbie stated. She was sitting in one of the Christ ports. He's going to be fine. John is just finishing up with him now. Jenny shared, this is God, and anything is possible here. I was trying to visualize a life without him, and all I got were visions of us having a baby. Barbie asked, do you know when that is going to happen? I'm pretty sure you need to start by talking with your man. Jenny was rubbing her big belly and giggling. When Adam Baker, Ken, opened his eyes, all he saw was a man that looked like Santa Claus. Who are you? I'm John Taylor. Give me a few seconds to make you pretty. John laughed. Where are we? Adam, Ken asked. We are with God, John shared. Am I dead? Adam asked. No, you were, but you are back among the living, John shared. Where is Julianne? Adam asked. She's about 30 feet away. She has just been informed that she can have babies now. Oh, John giggled. She's coming over. Hey, you, Julianne asked. Feeling better? She burst into tears as she kissed and hugged her man. Jenny put her arm around John and stood on her toes to kiss his cheek. I'm glad more cream soda is coming to the pharmacy, John shared. Me too, Jenny giggled. At the mission, but 50 caliber sniper rifle. Willa and Tony were up in the lookout tower. Peter and Patty were with them. Willa was looking through the sights of the 50 caliber sniper rifle that Ken used so very well. The bullets were enormous, and Willa was trying to summon the courage to shoot something. Willa, I see maybe a drug lord. Look over there. See the man on horseback? Tony was pointing towards the riders. Willa remembered when she was 7 years old. She had run out of 22 rounds, and there seemed to be baby rattlesnakes everywhere. She grabbed her dad's Remington 12-gauge 3 a Magnum and all the rounds her pockets could hold. She thought that gun kicked like a mule. She killed hundreds of baby rattlesnakes that day. She fired off her last round, and as she turned toward the house, there was a great big mama rattlesnake all coiled up ready to come at her. She took the long barrel 12-gauge and struck the batter's pose. When that big old snake uncoiled towards her, she swung with all her might and knocked it 20 yards. Willa looked at the snake and said, "Folks, that is a home run," then giggled. The next day, she had a black and blue bruise on her shoulder as big as a grapefruit. She aimed and squeezed that trigger. Damn, she never felt anything like that. She was still on her feet, but the kick from the round had moved her upper body from a leaning position to a standing position over a foot. Ouch! Tony had seen her move. He instantly put his hands over the affected area, easing some of the pain. When the pain had gone, find another target, guys. I've been watching that big old tent up there. There seems to be a stack of brown containers on the north side. Do you suppose that could be gasoline for the tanks? Patty wondered. I'll shoot the one on the bottom of the stack closest to the tent, Willa informed. Whatever it was or why it was there did not matter. A flame rose 30 feet into the air. Willa fired once more to the right, and the flame doubled in height. The north end of the tent was in flames. Many people were exiting the tent on the south end. A man with a big set of binoculars was looking at Willa. She looked back at him through the scope and squeezed the trigger. The man must have had some sort of body armor on. He was thrown back about 20 feet and came to rest against a jeep. Another man ran over to the downed man. He turned and made an obscene gesture to Willa. Willa thought an officer should be better mannered than that. She squeezed the trigger again. "Little girl, are you firing that monster? What on earth?" Ken stuck his head up, just in time to hear Patty say, "You got him! You got both of them!" "Oh God, that hurts. Give me another healing, Tony, please." Willa was looking at Ken when she closed her eyes as she felt the pain go away. Ken slowly made his way up the ladder. He carried another box of 200 rounds for his monster. "Can all of you do healings?" "Most of us, Mom and Dad, are the best of the best," Tony shared as Barbie also moved into the lookout tower. The battle still raged all around them. They could see piles of dead bodies covering the ground to the northwest and south. The 1,000 on the south side that had been hiding in the trees were now all laying on the ground. The men from the fort and Jesus and his scouts had laid them down in seconds. Jesus had moved his scouts so they could catch the men coming around to the west side from the north in a crossfire. Jesus and his dad had talked about having the men shoot their weapons more. He was happy to say his young scouts could hit what they aimed at. Jesus felt the practice paid off big time. Every scout had fired off 2 magazines for practice. Jesus felt his boys and girls of the scouts had fired off maybe 1,200 to 1,500 rounds today and hit that many targets. Peter was either shooting those that had gotten close to the fort or was on the phone advising others. Barbie hugged Tony and Willa. "Thank you guys for saving my man. He looks as good as new," and Willa giggled. "I'll find out tonight." Barbie also giggled. "Your mom said I can have babies now." Both Tony and Ken looked at the two wives with this, "What on earth are you girls talking about?" Patty also laughed when she saw the look on the two men's faces. Women have an instinct to become pregnant during the war. All the men rolled their eyes to the heavens, but smiles came to their faces. The 3 women laughed at their husbands. Willa handed the big gun back to Ken. "I may need loving care from my maid all night from shooting this mule." Willa giggled. "Are there any targets left?" Ken asked him, shaking his head. "Yes, there appear to be more officers on the south side of the tent," Patty shared. Ken and Barbie went back to work. Half of the riders on the north side were laying on the ground. All the riders on the south side were also on the ground. The only major wound had been Ken. A few minor wounds were quickly attended to. When the firing stopped, the men and women were told for every 4th shooter to come to get more ammunition. Carl climbed the ladder to the lookout. "How's it looking, Peter?" "We gave them a beating. They might think twice before wanting to try again without the army," Peter said proudly. "We may have brought them to us by only killing 14 of that first 100 they sent at us. If we had killed all 100, they may not have been willing to commit more than half of their men." "Sir, Jesus, our scout, is asking permission to continue the fight. His 300 scouts are to the east of the mission heading north," Tony shared. "Is that the young man that was here?" Carl asked him. "Yes, sir. He is the son of Pancho," Tony answered. "He is Captain Jesus Bautista, sir. His scouts killed most of that group of riders coming from the south. My God, I'm glad he is on our team. Let me talk with him." Carl took the phone. "Captain, how's your ammunition?" "We have an average of 84 rounds per man and women, sir," Jesus said over the speakerphone. "Captain Jesus, I want you to hold until you send someone in and get an additional 30,000 rounds. If we get that army angry with us, I want you guys to be able to hold your own," Carl directed. "Yes, sir. I'll bring 2 men now." Carl sent one of his lieutenants to count out rounds. Jesus and his 2 men arrived in the center of the courtyard. "Captain Jesus, have your men go with my lieutenant to get the ammunition. Please join us." "Yes, sir." In a blink, Jesus was standing with the group. "Can all of you transport like that?" Ken asked. "If the individual has a blue, red, or black lanyard, then the individual can," Tony shared. Okay, you guys and ladies, my wife gives me really good advice. If you sense something, please share it. What are they going to do? Carl asked. If the army does not engage, those riders may go home. Peter shared. God says William Smith, the top drug lord, is still alive. He's crazy enough. My bet is he'll send them, Ken offered. He's talking to the army. He knows he's outgunned if he can't include the army, Willa shared. Captain Jesus, can you and your men transport all of the 3,000 riders to God? Carl asked. Jesus took a second to listen. SI, yes, sir. Then you take that ammunition back with you and give your troops time to fill their magazines. Then when you are ready, take all of those riders to God. Carl directed, pointing towards the north. We need a team to land over by those officers and take them out, Barbie suggested. I agree. I need a volunteer to lead a team of 20 to transport close to that burning tent and kill the rest of those officers, Carl suggested. I'll do that, Peter offered. I'm going with you, Patty insisted. I think we want to take them to God? Peter suggested. I need red and black lanyards. General Carl, can you keep the courtyard free of everything until we return? Yes, good idea, General Carl shared. I'll go with you, Peter, Willa offered. Tony was going to object until Willa gave him a look. Talk with your dad. Peter and Ken both tried to hide their smirks at Tony's discomfort. Peter put his volunteers together. 17 black lanyards and 3 reds. They would go as soon as Jesus and his scouts pulled the plug on the 3,000 riders. At 13 minutes after Jesus left, several rounds were being shot at the lookout. Tony put up his hand as a round was shot at Ken's head. Ken turned his head and saw a bullet fall to the deck of the lookout. Thanks, Tony. I owe you twice now. Willa and Patty took you to God and got Jenny and John there. Tony shared, I had nothing to do with that. Ken, I see him. He is behind that tree over to the west side of the riders. Barbie shared, honey, that's William Smith that is behind that tree. Everybody sees him? Ken asked. There were 4 yeses. Ken fired his gun. Just behind the tree and a little to the right appeared a body that was not there a moment before. The round went through the tree with a 16-ton diameter. When it exited on the other side, many wood splinters acted much like a shotgun blast, assisting the round in screwing up William Smith's body badly. Good, that's the end of that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to reintroduce myself to you. I'm Adam Baker. Ken looked to his wife, Barbie. This is my wife and partner, Julie Ann. Adam pointed to the dead man behind the tree. That was the reason for the aliases. His deal with you was for you to kill all of us from up north? Tony asked in a low voice. Yes, and it was his idea for us to join your army to get close to you. What he didn't consider was my favorite weapon is this long-distance delivery system. Adam patted his .50 caliber gun. Julianne was laughing. Rule number 1, don't put the assassin and the hit together, especially if you put a bounty on the heads of the assassins. Sorry, you guys are not worth anything anymore. Julianne laughed some more. Neither are we. The riders are gone, Willa shared. Way to go, Jesus. The army men that were butted up to the riders stood, and soon there was half the army standing trying to see the riders. Everyone on the lookout was laughing and hugging as General Carl climbed up the ladder to the lookout. When he stuck his head through the hatch, "What's happening?" "Sir, Jesus and his scouts just took the rest of the riders to God," Peter reported, chuckling. "I'm glad he's on our side. I just got off the phone with Pancho. They will be here in the morning." Carl shared, 7,000 riders gone. Carl took a deep breath of air. Even the air smells cleaner. Peter, I'm going to mark on the calendar the day you and your wife showed up. Our children and grandchildren are going to celebrate that day. Carl was laughing. We need to go, Peter shared. He held hands with Patty and Willa. They transported down to the courtyard of the fort where the other 17 members of the team stood. Without a word, Peter looked around at his little group and they vanished. Sir, what is planned for Thanksgiving? Tony asked as he watched the tent area behind the army. Tony, I wanted to ask you, do you think we can get enough food for everyone to have some turkey for Thanksgiving? Carl asked. Yes, Tony reacted. No! A man just shot his wife Willa.